This video is going to cover the labels in AutoUi for GameMaker. If you don't know what that is, it's a GameMaker package that allows you to easily add customizable buttons, labels, images, and more with built-in auto alignment, mouse functionality, and a bunch of other useful features. You can check the link in the description for more details on all the included elements. So I'm going to use the same object that we created in the container example and just go over some of the useful label features. One of the main things that I wanted to do with this was to include auto word wrapping when adding these labels to a container. So if you have a very long piece of information you need to show to the player, when you run this, obviously that's going to look like that because the separation is just set as a default value. So normally what you would have to do is kind of figure out how much you want it spaced. Probably more like 20. There you go. And, just changing that makes it very easy. There's another optional parameter for the auto label, which is color. So if you wanted to change this to red or whatever other color, you could. So another useful thing you can do with the label is actually set an indent. And for this to work properly, let's just do something 200. I'm going to get rid of this center and just put this to the left. So now you can see it has this big indent there and it auto word wraps to that. And the same would go if I went to the right. It'll indent to the right side. So let's go back to center and show what kind of labels you actually can do. Obviously, you've got your auto label, which auto aligns to the left. Bottom, center, left, right, top. All those are alignments based on the container that you add them to. So if this were a horizontal container and you went auto label bottom, it would align it to the bottom. You then have hover color. The only reason I made this was for debugging and just like really quick visuals. And I'll show you what I mean by this. If I just go inactive color, let's set it to white. And then hover color to red, and then AUI. Actually, I think it's just defaulted to draw GUI. So it just basically allows you to easily change the color when you hover over it. There's actually a manual way that you can do that is much more specific. So if we just went back to this. So what we could do is, again, we have to set the hover type if we want to enable hovering. And whatever this hover type is has to be where you're drawing it. So what you can do is you can do things like set hovering func. Now this takes a function and it also takes an optional array parameter if you wanted to pass in arguments to this function. So like for instance, if you wanted to pass this container object, to get like, I don't know, object.second. So we're going to access this and set the text to changed. So when I hover over this, there you go. So you can put whatever you want in here. You could change the color, change the text, and then what you'll do is go set a cancel hovering func, and the same thing, and we'll just go color equals C gray or something, and then that's basically, what the hover color thing did. You can also, as you probably saw in the container video, set a click function. Same thing, you have access. The scope of this function is going to be in this label. So, so if you do want to access something outside of it, you will need to pass that in as a variable. One of the other super useful types of labels is the typewrite version. And just literally doing that will then have it typewrite the text. And you can also change these settings if you want. If you set typewrite to true, you have, and again, feather's not working, but the number of frames per character. So if you went like 5, you can see it'll do it a lot slower. Or if you set this to 0, you actually want it much faster. You can add 2 characters per step or 2 characters per frame. So that will type that out much, much faster. Let's go back to 5 here. And you can actually do something like if keyboard check pressed enter, then we're just going to do label.finish typewriting. There you go. So it'll auto, you know, for dialogue or whatever you want to automatically allow the user to stop it from typewriting. And then on top of that, you can set typewrite finished func. Same thing, takes a function. So you could, for instance, like let's do this. Let's have the second label say, press any key to continue, right? And what we're going to do is actually we're going to set this visible to false. So you don't see it. And then what this will do, we'll pass in self, you know, the O container object. You use object because we want to grab this object, the second label, and we're going to set this visible to true. And just to make this a bit faster, I'm just going to delete that. And there you go. So that appears there. So a lot of useful functions. You can also add a function on each key typed. So if you wanted a sound effect to play for every character that was typed, you could do that. Another super useful thing, and this isn't just labels, this is for all elements, is if you wanted to say, let's do this. Let's set this to BG. And this is basically a label. I'm gonna set this to 0 because it's not gonna be any bigger than that. Let's do 9 slice again, just for ease of convenience. And then what you can do is you can go set offset and move this there. And if you wanted to, you can also do align to the right, maybe. Maybe that'll look better. There you go. So, you know, just little things that look a little nicer. You could center it if you wanted to, and this has all of those methods, and you can do align center, align bottom, align top. So it could also be really good for a name. If you had a name, John Doe, let's go like that. And let's just set it to dark gray or something, I don't know. We're going to add it. And let's set, oh, another useful thing you can do is what's called ignore size. I like to use this a lot when I want to keep things around the same location. So you can kind of see it back there. Obviously, that's not what we want. So what we're going to do, actually dark gray is not the color either. We're going to set a BG, and this takes same thing. So we'll go line slice. Oh, that's aggressive. Is that right? Yes. So now, so it's right there, which is obviously not where we want it. So where we want it is name.set offset. Let's put it like -4, -12. I'm totally guessing here. Yeah, that's not enough at all. 12, -30. Okay, there you go. So obviously you want a little space there. Another thing you can do is go name and just add auto space, like let's go 10 pixels. That'll just literally push everything down a little bit. There you go. So now you've got your little dialogue thing. You could also put an image here if you wanted to. There's a number of things you could do to kind of make this look the way you want. And that's pretty much it for the label. Thanks so much for watching.